My name is Jake Brennan. I'm from Milestone's home office in Santa Clara, California, and I'll be moderating this webinar. Next to me is Zulema Romero. Internally, Zulema manages all of our new website builds and timelines. Kira McIntyre is next. Kira has her finger on the pulse of the website design industry, and if you have a Milestone designed website, Kira is very likely to have worked on it. Then Asta Tandon, who is instrumental in our website onboarding process, working with clients for custom designs. And lastly, Aaron Horowitz, who dives into the analytics and tools of website performance. I think this is an appropriate time for our mandatory shameless plug. Milestone is a comprehensive digital marketing software and service provider. We have created thousands of hospitality websites and have received a variety of awards for our designs. We also supply software and services, including social media, paid marketing, and SEO to drive revenue for our clients. Today, we will touch on design and content strategies we are incorporating into our website. So let's see what exactly will be covered. We will begin by highlighting the need to understand your customer, followed by creating designs for your audience. The programming must-haves for a website in today's multi-device world, and finishing with understanding the metrics to measure your website performance before the Q&A. So without further delay, Zulema, please kick things off.
All right. Thank you, Jake, for that lovely introduction. So we'll begin by kicking off with the customer journey and how your website needs to communicate your hotel story as well as resonate with your target audience. All right, so before even thinking about the design of your new website, we need to have a really strong understanding of various factors. The first being your customer journey and the understanding of the various paths that they take and the channels that they utilize for research. Second is to be able to tell about the hotel's history, its unique selling points, and why it really matters to your audience. And then third, understand who your audience is and how they engage on various channels. And then lastly, we'll show you how we put this all into place and show a recent example of how we married a hotel's unique selling points along with the customer needs. All right, so first we'll begin with the customer journey. It's important to understand how consumers research and consume data prior and after to booking with you. And there are various channels that influence your visitors' buying behavior. It's important that they are all aligned in look, feel, voice, and goals in order to cement your personality and brand within your audience. And always keep in mind that at the heart of this channel network is your website. The majority of your conversions typically come from your website, so your website will always set the tone for your brand. All right, so now that we have a good understanding of your customer journey, we need to begin to focus on what needs to be communicated through your website. We need to identify what is so unique about your business and why it matters to your clients. So there are four main elements that will help us close the gap between what our business offers and what that client is looking for. So the first element is really all about the hotel. Does your hotel have a unique history? What experience do you want your visitors to have? Is your property feel more classic or is it contemporary? And is your tone playful or more serious? All of these questions will come into play, specifically when you select the types of colors you want your website to be, how your content should read, and then the types of images that you should use. The next element speaks to your current business challenge. What problem is it that you're trying to solve? Do you need to increase your leisure travel, or are you trying to penetrate the destination wedding market? Your website design will need to address all of your business needs. And then the third element speaks about your hotel's unique selling points. What makes your hotel so unique and what sets you apart from your competitors? Is your hotel located walking distance from a popular attraction, or do you have a special promotion associated with that attraction or an organization? So always remember that when you're compiling your unique selling points, they should encompass at least one of three factors: location, comfort, and/or value. And then the last element, and probably one of the most important, is your audience. You need to understand who they are and what they say about you. And does what they say about you align with who you think you are? Perception is always reality, so ensure that your target audience identifies with your brand messaging. So in order to meet your target audience need, it's important to break them down into what we call personas. So personas are essentially profiles of your target audience segments. And for each persona, you need to understand their age group, what their interests are, what their salary range is, and what types of channels and devices they typically use during their travel research phase. In the end, the goal is to guide all visitors towards conversion, so we need to make that easy to do through these various channels. And conversion can come in various different forms, such as a direct booking, a wedding or a meeting RFP submission, or even a direct phone call. So in this example, the persona is a bride. We know both through the chart that she will be visiting various wedding blogs and various sites prior to even coming to our site. Therefore, we need to ensure that we are present in all of those channels and we are providing that information that she is looking for, such as venue or service information. And then we also need to make it easy and convenient for her to submit her RFP through any of these channels, enticing her to convert. All right, and so here's an example of how we recently just put all of this together for one of our clients, and we put all of these elements into practice. This example is one of our latest that we created for the Chase Park Plaza in St. Louis, Missouri. So the Chase Park Plaza is a historic landmark, so we created a visually striking design that exudes sophistication and elegance, which is usually tied to the darker tones. And the Art Deco feel of the design reinforces the hotel's history. The refined content and messaging communicates the mix of the hotel's sophistication and unique selling points. The challenge that we were posed with was with growing the luxury and group business through the website. And the client also wanted to ensure that we were promoting their event and dining space. So a solution to that was to create these custom banners promoting the dining outlets as well as the group and event modules on the home page above the fold. And then we also incorporated an event calendar, a blog, and email offer sign up to further engage the consumer and enhance conversion. Okay, and so when discussing with the Chase Park, they did identify that one of their personas or target segments were in fact brides. So that little screenshot you see up in the upper left hand, that's the banner that we created for weddings. And what we did is we went ahead and created a 5-page dedicated wedding module within the site. And within that module, it houses all information that any bride would need to make a decision. It has floor plan information, catering, audio, visual, service detail information, and most importantly, an RFP form, which is their book a wedding button. When you go to that page, the bride would be able to provide all the information needed to be able to reach back out to her and follow up on that lead. Essentially, a place for easy conversion. Okay, and I will pass this off to Kira, and she will discuss designing for your audience.
Thank you, Zulema, and hello, everyone. Today, I would like to talk about how to design for your audience. So we'll start off here with our top 5 must-haves before you design. These 5 things are your site architecture, colors, imagery, content, and of course, which devices and the audience that you're trying to reach out to. How does Milestone define usability? As you can see, there are a lot of things that factor into usability, excuse me, but really it just comes down to these 5 things. Information architecture, how a page is laid out, how navigation is organized. Colors, based on geography, gender, psychology. Images, are you choosing the right images for your website? And content, legibility, organization, and of course backend to make sure your website is performing well. Let's go into site architecture and how it impacts usability. This one is crucial. Is your primary and secondary navigation and third-level navigation clear? Do you have breadcrumbs on your site so users can always tell where they are? How about your information hierarchy? Is the content on your site organized, labeled clearly, categorized, and prioritized for conversion? Next, we go into color. Color has a tremendous role in usability, and we consider these 4 factors when choosing color for a website: geography, gender, psychology, and of course, legibility. This is an interesting approach when we add psychology to the mix. Note, according to this graph here, that orange ranks up there as being cheap and fun, while black is actually considered high quality and also lacks trust. But blue is highly associated with trust and security, so you'll see this often used for businesses such as medical, tech, or even banking. So what are the colors that convert? It's important to keep in mind these best practices when choosing colors for your website. Use strong contrast and color and readability. Use minimal use of color because too many colors can actually distract your visitor from their end goal. Choose colors based on your business, region or area, target audience, culture, and market. Avoid colors that do not represent the area of your business. For example, if you are a beachfront property, you probably don't want to use dark colors or black because this doesn't represent the light colors of your area like blues, tans, and whites. Black and dark colors would be more appropriate for a business that would maybe be downtown in downtown Chicago or something where you think of city streets, cars, lights, nightlife. Another key here is to try to limit yourself to one primary color and one secondary color. And what I mean by this is to choose a really bold primary color for your hard converting elements, which, as you can see in this example here, is book now. And then the example on the right here, this is to order online. These are your immediate call to actions here, therefore they should be prominent in color. And then of course your secondary call to actions, these examples here, amenities, get directions, these are more for your soft conversions. Let's go into images and how this affects usability. Images are often the first impression you give when a user visits your site. Make sure you're choosing the right imagery for your market and target audience, and choose images that are relevant to the information you are conveying. So here, if you look at these are images that convert really well. A picture can tell 1,000 words, so use this as an opportunity to quickly convey a message without words. You can see here on the bottom here, there's a golf image. You can already tell that this is a golf-related image. The content is related to golf. Limit the use of generic stock photography that does not represent your product. Try to use unique images of your business or property because this is actually what converts best. This is the product that you're trying to sell. If you do use stock photography, try to use imagery with real people doing real things because this is what users can relate to. And of course, choose images with simple focal point. If you use images that are too blurry, this can distract the user or actually make them not even look at it. I want to give some examples of some poor use of imagery here. I know this might seem like common sense, but surprisingly, you'll see this throughout the web. Please avoid using blurry imagery. Of course, imagery with poor framing. Images that are too close up or zoomed in. Images that are too busy, as you can see on the top left here. There is a very busy street. This is actually not recommended. And again, avoid images that don't represent your content. Let's go into content and usability, another vital role in strong usability. It's important to make sure your content is legible, scannable, and prioritized with clear hierarchy and categorization to help visitors pick up the scent of information within the first 5 to 10 seconds of visiting your website. So how do you create content that converts? Your content should relate to your audience to help them achieve what they're looking for. So you really need to find out your audience's main challenges here and their needs, and utilize your unique selling points to drive conversion. This will help inspire your visitor and activate their action. So I just want to give some nice visuals here to some content that converts, but here are some good habits and best practices to keep in mind to help boost conversion here. Utilize captivating overlay marketing messages on your hero images above the fold. Help your website pass the 5-second test with clear, creative messaging to help visitors quickly grasp the true purpose of your site. Showcase bold promos and feature boxes. And don't make your user work too hard. With just a little bit of text, you can actually tell a huge story. Clearly and boldly list your unique business property selling points, and turn huge, daunting paragraphs into a nice bulleted list so people are more inclined to read it. Consider line spacing and letter spacing. As I'm sure all of you can imagine, trying to read a paragraph where text is too crammed or close, it's really hard to read. Use clear headlines and page names, so your visitor is always clear of where they are on your website. And a clear call to action and text for your call to action buttons is highly recommended. For example, having a download button that says click here really doesn't let the user know what they're about to do. So having that button say something like download here makes more sense. So here's another visual. So how do you actually adapt your design for customer intent? Reduce the shiny bells and whistles and all the flashy design habits we're used to, and give the customer what they actually need. Don't hide the information. This is only making your customer work for the information they need to motivate their purchase. Keep it simple. Don't overload the user with too many elements on a page, too much content. or too many options for them to make a purchase. Hard converting call to actions large and bold and prominent so users can easily see them. And every web page you have on your site should have the scent of information, because a page without a call to action or a pathway to your main conversion is actually a useless page. So let's get into responsive websites and how you actually design for the device. You really have to adapt your design depending on the device, and consider the hierarchy of the elements depending on the device that it's being served to. For example, desktop and tablet is more for exploring. Therefore, you can feature a lot more content here. But mobile is more for taking action and looking for quick, important information such as phone number, the main call to action, quick menu, address, etc. For both mobile and tablet, try to take advantage of gesture interfacing to help users explore the content of your site without having to click. For example, instead of having a static photo gallery on your mobile where you have to click to view each photo, have a nice swipe feature where they can easily preview several photos within your gallery in a moment's time. It is also extremely important to make sure the clickable elements on your mobile or tablet site are large enough for an average-sized finger. You'll be safe if you keep your elements in the clickable area between 44 pixels and 72 pixels. This is probably my most important slide to share with all of you. Adapting for mobile is key here, especially in today's world. I'd like to dive a bit deeper into mobile here. So here are some 7 must-haves to ensure your mobile site converts well. Make sure you have a sticky header. This should include your most valuable action items, including your hard CTA, so your book now or your request for proposal. Your phone number should be fully visible and clickable as a button. Your header should also include your mobile menu, as well as a search function to easily reach info without having to navigate. Speaking of mobile menu, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the hamburger icon, which represents your website's navigation menu. However, there are many people out there that still are not familiar with this icon. Therefore, it's highly recommended to visually display the word menu with your hamburger icon, as you can see in this example to the right. Lastly, you can utilize the sticky footer as real estate for soft conversion elements such as photo gallery, email, subscribe, etc. I just want to quickly highlight some soft conversion elements. Soft conversions are your opportunity to lure the user in for intent to purchase. If not now, then possibly at a later time. And here are some examples of soft conversion elements that are encouraged for your website. Special offers and packages, overlay marketing messages, email subscriptions, get directions or find location, live chat, a phone number call to action, read or write reviews. This will help boost your reputation, and of course, social page likes. Next, let's go into what are hard conversions. Hard conversions are the key gateway to making a purchase by the user. These are your main call to actions, allowing your website visitor to reach their end goal, whether it is booking a hotel room or submitting an inquiry to host a wedding at a particular venue. It is important to make sure your website has these hard conversion elements readily available and visible to your user. Here are examples of some hard conversion elements. As I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, a reservations widget or a booking engine, often seen on hotel sites, a book now or purchase call to action button. So if you are a hotel and you have an accommodations page, this would be your book now buttons along with each room type so users can easily book each room. Request for proposal call to action. If you, for example, offer wedding services and rent out wedding space, your hard conversion here would be inquiries through your website. Therefore, your call to action to obtain those inquiries needs to be large and prominent on your website. For restaurant sites, your hard conversion elements would be reservation widgets as well, most likely open table. If possible for you, it is also recommended to display dynamic product rates where a user can simply click to deep dive into a booking or purchase funnel. For more awesome tips just like this, plus much, much more, we encourage you to join us for our upcoming digital marketing conference. It will be taking place July 25th and 26th at Hyatt Regency in Chicago, and there's still time to register. And now I would like to introduce Asta, who will be giving us some awesome, insightful programming tips.
Thanks, Kira. So, once you have designed your website, comes the programming part. Let's take a look at a few of the programming elements that are a must-have for all websites that are optimized to convert. Here are 3 of the items that can make or break any website. So before you launch your website, test it for speed and performance, crawl status by search engines, and optimized content. Page speed and website performance are critical if you want your website optimized for conversions. Studies have shown that a delay of just 1 second can lower your conversions by 7%. That's a loss of 7% in revenue right there. Now, minimizing backend source code, compressing images on the page to reduce their size not only improves the page performance, but also reduces download time for a website, with an end result that your users have better experience and convert easily. Easier crawlability is another factor that affects conversion on your website. Your users cannot book on a website that they can't find on search engines. So make friends with search engines by allowing their bots to crawl your website. Apart from HTML and CSS validations, check for broken links and canonical tags to avoid any duplicate content issues and penalties. To keep your users longer on your website and drive conversions, you also need to have fresh and engaging content on the website. But more important, make sure that that content is optimized with keywords, making it easier for search engines to find and display your business in search. Now, that was all you needed to know before the site goes live. What happens when the site is launched? Apart from repeating the previous checks for speed, performance, crawl status, content optimization, there are a few other things that you need to keep in mind. Make sure your conversion elements are working. So all your booking links, your RFP forms, your email signups, they are all working properly on the website. Check for the redirects in case. If you are restructuring your website or you're revamping your website and there are old URLs that are being redirected to the new URLs, or they do not exist anymore, you need to make sure that your 301 redirects are in place and there are no 404 errors for pages that are not found by search engines. Lastly, after putting in all that hard work, make sure you are able to measure your success. All your tracking tools are in place, you are recording your revenue, and the ROI can be measured. That's all from me about the programming tips. And now I hand over to Aaron, who will hand out the tips on conversions and measuring them.
Thank you, Asa. So now I'm going to give you some user interface tips, which will address the way your website looks, feels, and functions in the eyes of the user to help ensure that your website is successfully optimized to convert. First, here's an example of a scroll map, with the red end of the spectrum, the hot area, indicating that most users have scrolled to at least that point, whereas the blue end, the cold area, indicates that fewer users scroll to that point. The 70% line in the middle is around the average fold for a website, with the fold being the bottom of the average computer screen. So everything above the fold is shown with no scrolling required, and all content below the fold requires users to scroll to get to it. So we can see from this example that 30% of site visitors never scroll below the fold at all. The percentage of users that don't scroll below the fold can vary from 20% on up to 80%, so it's crucial that your most important content be kept above the fold. Here's the homepage for Chase Park Plaza, which you've seen earlier in the presentation. There's tons of rich content above the fold. The call to action, or CTA button, fits in with the color theme of the page, yet it still stands out. The call to action also has very clear, concise messaging. Users know precisely what the purpose of the button is. And, of course, the CTA is kept well above the fold of the website, meaning that any user who clicks to the page will see the CTA no matter what. That last point is especially critical, as if you recall from the previous slide, anywhere from 20 to 80% of site visitors don't scroll at all. You want to make sure to maximize the number of visitors that see your CTA. Here's the homepage for Hotel Nico, another one of our clients. The review box and Facebook like button with a total count of Facebook likes are included well above the fold. These are what we call trust symbols, which help establish trust in the mind of site visitors. Trust symbols can also include any awards the business has won, prominent lists the business was featured in, and any other certifications the business may have. Think anything that lends credibility to the business. Include these trust symbols above the fold to help users build trust when they first interact with your website. Hotel Nico's website also includes lots of high-value content above the fold. Users can access most of the information for which they came to the site without scrolling at all. Additionally, items like manager specials and Wi-Fi access, information that a lot of users likely want to know, is highlighted. Gran Velas utilizes a hero image on their homepage. This is a beach resort in Mexico, and they're looking to attract families to come and stay. The hero image is relevant to the specific users they are looking to attract. Additionally, a call to action button is included on the hero image, ensuring that the hero image is a productive use of space. Users expect website elements to be clickable, and including the CTA button on the hero image helps guide users to click exactly where you want them to click. One final tip to ensure users have a great experience on your website is to use bullet points where possible to summarize important info. In the case of Seaport, a hotel in Boston, the bullets include information about free Wi-Fi, access to public transportation, whether the hotel has a pool, and the box even includes a local weather forecast. All information that is directly relevant to prospective hotel guests, very easy for site visitors to see, and of course is included above the fold of the website. So now here's some tools you can use to help manage and optimize your website. Most of these tools have a free option to help you get started, and more robust paid services should you choose to upgrade. Google Analytics helps you to track stats on all types of user interactions with your website and organizes data based on a variety of categories. Hotjar allows you to implement heat map tracking, polls, and surveys on your website, giving you great feedback for how your site visitors are using your site. Optimizely can implement A/B testing, multivariate testing, and integrates very smoothly with lots of other tools. User testing has actual people record themselves using your website and provides live narrated videos where their testers tell you what's working for them, how easy they think your site is to use, and anything that they might suggest changing. PT Engine also implements heat map tracking on your website. It tracks users by device type and can monitor your web analytics. And last, Google Tag Manager helps you to easily update code snippets on your site for some of the tools above and ensures that running multiple tools on your website will not slow it down. Finally, here are 5 metrics that you want to keep in mind when you're launching a new website. First, time on site. How long are visitors staying on your site? If this is lower than expected, you'll want to make sure you have robust content to keep users engaged. Pages per visit looks at the depth at which users interact with your site and can tell you if you need to improve the navigation of your site to ensure that visitors can easily navigate to all relevant pages. Time on page will tell you which of your pages are getting the most engagement from users and which pages need help. Bounce rate, which measures how frequently visitors leave your site immediately after entering without clicking to any other pages, will help indicate whether your site on the whole is as engaging as it needs to be. And finally, repeat visitors is an indication of breadth of content on your website, whether users derive enough value from your site to merit return visits versus those who find what they need once, assume there is nothing more to be gained, and don't return. Now to wrap up, here are 5 key takeaways to keep in mind following this webinar. Make sure you connect your unique selling points to your client needs. Keep in mind design best practices regarding photos, colors, site layout, and device type. On that note, absolutely ensure that your website is mobile friendly. Cannot stress this enough. Make sure your website is crawlable by search engines, fast loading for users, and relevant to your target customers. And finally, track all conversion points so you know how well your site is performing. Now I'll pass it back to Jake to wrap up.
Thanks, Aaron. And thanks to the rest of the team. That was great information. We covered quite a bit of ground today. Please, everyone on the line, take a few seconds to send us your questions. We'll begin the Q&A session in a few moments. If you enjoyed what you heard today or have so many questions that you're unsure where to start, the best way to reach out to us is directly at sales@milestoneinternet.com. We will be glad to go over our services one-on-one. Additionally, I wanted to highlight our upcoming digital marketing conference. We have a terrific lineup of search marketing experts and hospitality experts sharing their thoughts on where the industry is headed and tips of how to capitalize on digital marketing trends. Register today to really start improving your performance digitally, professionally, and personally. I highly, highly encourage attending and meeting our team members in person versus digitally. All right, so now it's time for our Q&A. The first question here, how can I measure the page download time? Asta, can you take that?
Sure, Jake. Page speed can be assessed using a tool called GTmetrix. The tool not only gives you how long it takes for your website to download, so it gives you the download time, but it also tells you whether or not that is acceptable or not. And if your page download time is not acceptable, it also gives out suggestions on what you can do to reduce that download time further. You can also use other tools like Google's Webmaster Tool to assess the overall health of your website and make sure that you are following all the best practices.
Thanks, Asta. Now for our next question, what are the most important conversion optimization best practices? Aaron, can you take that one?
Sure thing. So 3 things I would recommend the most are to first keep the most valuable content above the fold of your website. If you remember from the scroll map I showed earlier, some amount of users aren't going to scroll no matter what. So you want to make sure that high value content is kept above the fold. Second, make your call to action stand out visually. You want it to be easy to spot. And third, make sure the messaging of your CTA is clear and concise. You want users to know exactly what they're doing when they're clicking the button. The more you make users think, the less you're going to convert.
Thanks, Aaron. Next question. If I'm looking to revamp my website, should I focus on mobile first? Kira?
Sure. Thanks, Jake. The answer is yes, absolutely. As mobile trends are growing and growing, actually 60% or more of website traffic is from mobile. So our main focus is to design for mobile first and then scale from there. And what we want to do is focus on the unique and important hierarchy of the information on mobile and make sure those 7 elements that I had listed during my presentation, for example, sticky header, have your main call to actions, your phone number visible. These are all really, really important factors that we have to consider first before we move into tablet and desktop.
Thank you, Kara. We have another question coming in here. For the metrics measurements, what are the best practice bounce rate percentages? Time spent on site, repeat visitor count versus new visitors for the hospitality industry.
So what we can do, Jake, we're actually working on creating those benchmarks now that we have our Unitalytics tool across the board. So what we can do when we follow up through the blog post, we can actually put that up so that everyone can see.
Thanks, Zulema. Got another question coming in here. Can you go over the colors and IA again?
Can you clarify IA?
An example, maybe?
What is meant by IA? I apologize.
I'm not sure if we can do that in real time.
Maybe just go to the color charts.
Maybe we could just, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Do you mind, Jake, if we hop to that chart screen one more time?
Sure.
So I believe we would like to do a quick recap of the psychology of color and sort of the reasoning behind the colors that we choose. Here we are. So we can go on to the next slide here. So yes, the psychology of color. And I hope that I'm addressing your question. I apologize if I'm missing the mark here. But just to dive a bit deeper in here, each of these charts here represents an emotion or a feel from the user. So, for example, trust. Trust from the user. What is the emotion that they get when they see these colors? When the user sees blue, they automatically associate with trust. Whereas, if you look at this chart, if they see orange on a website, it more associates with something that's cheap and fun and inexpensive. And so there is sort of a lack of trust there. You would see more primary colors like yellows, oranges, reds used for more of a family fun, maybe even a lower budget property. And of course here on the right, you see on the top right, we have high quality. As I'm sure a lot of you have seen, if you're looking through the web and you find a really, really upscale restaurant, for example, they usually have dim lighting, a lot of dark colors, things like that. So you see here, black is primarily associated with high quality here, and even blue as well. But if you look at yellow, again, this is more of a primary color. It's a warm color. This isn't necessarily associated with high quality. It goes back to being more cheap and inexpensive. And the bottom right chart, fun, I feel like this one sort of is even more clear. You can see that these bold primary colors, the purples, the oranges, again, this is just more associated with fun. If you think of, you know, Nickelodeon is orange, for example, this is how it ties in there.
And then our commenter said what they meant by IA was information architecture or site architecture. Could you just go through that again quickly?
Yes, absolutely. So your site architecture is the most important element for your website. And basically your site architecture includes your navigation, your page flow, basically your entire experience, a holistic view of your user's experience through your site. How are you going to format your content? Where does it go? How do you arrange your tabs, your primary and your secondary navigation? How do you make sure that there are no roadblocks where your users going through your website and they don't dead end to a place where they don't know how to navigate out and they can't tell where they are? So your site architecture is really just a way to clearly define the guts of your website, lack of a better word there, but it's to truly define what will be on your site and how it should function and what will the flow be.
All right, thanks a lot, Kira. That appears to be all the questions we have in right now. But again, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to contact us. sales@milestoneinternet.com. And I think that'll do it for today. So thanks so much for joining in, everyone, and have a great day.